Imagine that you're lucky enough to be adopted as a child from a foreign country. Now imagine that you are applying for your first job out of college. The employers ask you for your proof of citizenship and you say no problem. However, you find out they won't hire you because you aren't a citizen and your green card has expired. This was a huge shock for many people that always assumed that they were Americans since before they could even remember. I'm a Chinese adoptee who was lucky enough to have parents who remembered they needed to finalize my citizenship after my adoption. I was 13 when it became official. However, during these troubled times, I'm sure there are people who feared deportation because of their incomplete citizenship. After February 27, 2001, the Child Citizenship Act of 2000 became active. This meant that children that were born and adopted after that date by American citizens were granted automatic naturalized citizenship and proof of it. If a child was under 18, they would also acquire the citizenship, but no certificate. This law was supposed to be an easy way for international adoptees to become naturalized citizens in the United States of America. However, the children were not given proof of citizenship automatically. According to Adoptee Rights Campaign's website, there is an estimated 35,000 to 40,000 inter-country adoptees who turned 18 before 2001. Eligible international adoptees did not receive proof of citizenship, and it meant that parents had to file for certification according to the Child Citizenship Act of 2000. Parents that were not aware of the importance of a certificate of citizenship did not apply for it and left their children in a very vulnerable situation. If one cannot prove that they are an American citizen, they will not be able to keep a job and risk deportation. Recently, there's been a lot of talk about deportation in the news coming from politics. And adults that were adopted before 2000 are also in jeopardy if they do not have complete citizenship. This law that did not give automatic citizenship certificates to eligible children or to adults brought lawfully into this country fails to do enough good to the U.S. If children were brought into this country lawfully by adoption, they should not be considered illegal immigrants. The extensive paperwork that is needed to prove that these adults and children belong in the U.S. is unfair. How would you feel if you had to go through extra steps to become a citizen in a country that was supposedly your home since a child? How would you feel if you were told that you were an illegal immigrant, but you were adopted by loving U.S. citizens? How would you feel if you were deported back to a country that you have no recollection of? Even worse, have no home in your birth country. The Child Citizenship Act of 2000, which was signed into place by President Clinton, needs to be revised. The revision needs to grant inter-country adoptees that were born before 1983 automatic American citizenship. Also, children who were born after 1983 and before 2001 need to be granted automatic naturalized citizenship certificates. Revising the Child Citizenship Act, so international adoptees can have proof of their citizenship, is the logical answer to our problem. These adults and children were not brought here illegally, so for them to be deported would be very unethical. These adults and children need protection in order to avoid deportation for innocent behavior. While this proposal has not yet worked effectively, there are multiple cases that have left these children in jeopardy that are over 18, so adults, sorry. The Adoptees' Rights Campaign, the Washington Post, and the New York Times have shown us different stories and situations of these unfortunate victims of this unfair law. Some people may think these people do not deserve citizenship because they were lazy. Well, prior to this law, an adoptee that had a green card, permanent residence card, they were considered legal enough to be Americans. Some people think that this will overpopulate our country. Well, let me remind you, they have been here for a long time. They were adopted. The only thing that changes is that these adults and children would now be 100% legal and in the country that they call home. In order to protect our families and friends, naturalized citizens and natural-born citizens need to fight for change. The biggest ways we can push for revision to this law is by calling and writing to our congressmen and congresswomen. If you go to adopteesrightscampaign.com, you can find letter templates and universal phone scripts to call Congress. If we do not fight for international adoptees' rights, your family and friends could be deported to countries they cannot call their home. In the next 4 years, the congressmen and congresswomen who are in favor of deporting millions of illegal immigrants could wrongfully deport thousands of inter-country adoptees. In conclusion, I ask you to help me by calling, writing, and petitioning in support for revision of the Child Citizenship Act of 2000. When you do this, ask them, do you have any family or friends who were adopted from another country before 2001? Appeal to their emotions. Remind them of their moral values. Personally, I believe I will be developing this speech into a persuasive essay to send across to Congress, the President, and the judicial courts. Thank you.